Hello and welcome to Beer, Booze, and Boogeyman episode. I have no idea what the number is. Does anybody actually know what the number is for this episode?
Maybe like
Around
12 or 13.
Numbers are
Are we
just a
13,
concept.
12?
13, 13,
13?
14,
Lucky number.
something like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, cool. 13. I love it. We're going to stick with 13 no matter what the actual episode number is. I am one of your hosts, Joey, and with me, as always, is the man who sang It's Going to Be May, Justin Timberlake's stepsister's brother's cousin twice removed, and host of Life Before 6 Feet podcast, Damien.
Howdy, y'all.
hmm
What's happening?
Also, here is the semi retired Copacabana pool boy who also played the kazoo in the hit song Maggie May by Rod Stewart, Gil.
Well, everybody, I am only wearing a Speedo
Mhm.
below the camera right now.
He
my-
did
it's where I'm
actually
most
start a
comfortable.
company. Yeah, called Tuxedo Speedo.
It's actually called Toledo Torpedo Tuxedo Speedo.
Love it. Love it. And last but not least is the star of the film in the year 2000 blockbuster movie Maybe Baby as the baby, starring alongside Rowan Atkinson, Hugh Laurie, and Jolie Richardson, Kristen.
Ah, that sounds awesome. Dude, hi. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, heck yeah. And I know that we'd all like to jump right into the topic, but first, let's get a hint of what we're drinking. K-Booze, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, I brought two different varieties of booze
Mm-hmm.
tonight because I let Lee go and pick something, and I only ever drink IPA.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, just get anything that's like paranormal themed, death themed, darkness
Mm-hmm.
themed, anything like that. And he picked a dark, it's a dark ale. It's called Irish Death.
Nice.
I
Perfect.
don't like dark ales. I don't like them. They're too
Mm-hmm.
heavy. So
Mm-hmm.
I still had one of these left, which is very, very good. The Boneyard IPA.
Mm,
Nice.
And I dig these.
Nice.
I'm saving this one for second.
mm.
Heck yeah.
Well, G-Booze, how about you?
I was rushing to even get here by start time, so I just ran in and grabbed my trusty old Bush Light. So I'm keeping it simple this week, month, whatever.
Okay.
Is that better than the Frankenwine you had a long time ago?
Yes, way better. I don't
Mm.
think I'll ever have anything as repulsing as that.
Mm.
It
Well,
was like we were
people, I
all
guess, have,
there. It was pretty bad.
yeah, it was pretty bad. I guess people have died in the bush, so I guess it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Ah,
G-Booze, how about you?
As always, I am drinking Voodoo Ranger.
Mm-hmm. It's the
It's a
best.
classic. It's a
Brewed
classic.
right here in North Carolina.
Hmm.
No. Yeah, actually it is. Well, we've all been running hard getting content out to you, and D-Booze especially has been killing the beer, booze, and boogeyman content train this month. Thank you, D-Booze, for doing that. Woo woo!
hey, I do what I can to help, guys.
hmm What we got on tap for next month's? It's June 7th is our next episode. What's next month's episode, Damien?
Next month's episode is going to be titled Calls from the Dead. This one is specifically targeted towards first responders, um, EMTs, police, fire, just anybody that responds to any kind of call to action. And I already personally know a few people that I can reach out to that I'm sure has some weird fucking stories to tell. And it don't have to be necessarily something paranormally as like a haunting. If you've seen driving to a call and you see some strange shit in the sky, or you're at a call and you see some big furry 8 foot tall thing run across in front of you, let's anything really fucking weird. We want to hear about it while you're on the
Mhm.
call.
Now, are we are we keeping it just to first responders? I happen to know a security guard who would have a ton of stories, but are we keeping it just to first responders?
I would open it up to security guards because they,
Yeah.
depending
Okay.
on where they're securing, they would be the first to respond.
Sure. Sure.
Mhm.
Okay.
So,
Cool. Right on.
hell yeah,
That's gonna be a
Excited.
fun episode, you guys. Oh.
I
Yeah,
think
it's
so.
gonna be awesome. Yeah, and if we might end up opening up to second responders, what would that be? What would second responders be? That would be like lawyers,
The coroner.
coroner.
That would be some interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever
Nosy
appreciates
neighbors.
the second responder.
Nosy neighbors for
Nosy
sure.
neighbors out
Mm-hmm.
vacuuming their yard. Yeah, seeing what's up.
Hey, grass needs to be vacuumed too.
Does.
Does it?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
It's either ass, grass, or vacuum. I don't know. I think that was the bumper sticker I saw earlier. No,
If
No.
it wasn't,
Gil.
it should be.
It should. You know what? Beer, booze, and boogeyman new merch.
Ass,
New merch.
grass, and vacuums.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Gil, you want to tell everybody how they can get in touch with us, how they can call in, how they can do the things just for later and for next
Yeah,
episode?
100%. Super easy. So let's call in 208-717-1611 when we do open up the lines. Hope that you have the number saved by now. If not, totally cool. But here's your chance. Another option too, because we do have a little bit of time, you can go to ghost.beer and click on submit. Just hit us up in the chat if we're in the middle of talking or something like that and let us know that you emailed us or sent something in. So
Yes.
Nice.
Right on.
It's real easy. Ghost.beer or the number on the screen.
you've used phones before, probably.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Maybe. How did you get here?
Mhm. And if you haven't, you probably got some damn good deathbed confessions, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully so.
Yeah.
At what point
we,
can we ooh, what about like post-death confessions? Like, can we bust out a Ouija board and just start asking?
we could.
The
What's
sky's
the
the
worst
limit
thing you
tonight. I
did
have
when
a
you were
Ouija board.
alive?
I
Yeah,
have one. We could pull it out.
I have a
Hmm.
Ouija
I'll
board
put my
pillow.
house and health at risk for you guys.
You know what? That's why you got a raise, Gay Boost. That's
Yep.
why we're giving you a raise.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Thanks,
We all
guys.
voted
Thanks
off
for that.
screen. Yeah, that that you're getting a raise.
Right.
Hmm.
And I
I
think too, for anybody that does pop up in the chat anywhere, throw this up or leave it up as a comment. I'd say like with this video when you see it somewhere in time. But we've been toying with the idea of adding on like second or even third kind of like supplemental topics or additional things. So if you have an idea for something that you're just like, I'm just waiting for them to cover that, throw it up into the old chat or into the
Mhm.
comment
Mhm.
section because we do this for you and we're also asking for you to pop in. So even if it's just I have a story about this, we'll figure out a topic for it. So
Yeah. Yeah. We've got like dashboard confessionals, taxi cab confessions. We're gonna go through the gambit today.
Oh.
Maybe. I don't know. Just depends. Does anybody want to start off with the story? G-boos, K-boos? I
well,
know we have one.
there's been oh, the submission or
Yeah, either or.
paranormal news that's been in the news recently paranormally.
Let's get paranormalopoly on it. Let's go ahead and do the paranormal news. Why not? We'll start off a little easy.
Well, Dee, you brought in a subject that opened up our reminding cells to another subject that's connected. Tell
Mhm.
us what you know about the Groffs.
Well, it seems like here within like the last year or so, there's been all kinds of drama in like the paranormal community, with whether it's the pair of celebrities who are always on these shows and doing this stuff, or just like everyday teams. There's always somebody like talking shit about somebody else, and which I think is just beyond ridiculous. Because if you're really into this, you're all in for it for the same reason. Um,
Hmm.
but apparently, um, can't I went blank on her name.
Well,
Amy.
what show is it associated with?
So
Real
Amy
quick.
from, oh my God, I can't think of the name of the show.
Dead
She
Files?
started. She started out um, Amy Bruni. That's her name. Started out on Ghost Hunters, then had her own show with
Dead
Adam
Files.
Berry,
Oh.
and I can't.
Ghost Hunters.
No, that's where she started out at.
Mm.
It's like my wife's favorite paranormal show, and they canceled it a couple years ago.
Yeah.
No.
I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but anyway,
Kindred Spirits.
that's it. Kindred Spirits.
Mm.
That's it.
Mhm.
So apparently, she made a post saying something about people talking shit about Zach Bagans, about how he got all these shows canceled and did this and that. And apparently, Nick Groff and his wife took offense to it, saying before you start saying stuff, maybe you should have proof like we do that he's the reason behind a lot of this.
Mm.
And she was just like, I wasn't saying this or that, but and now there's like kind of like a beef between I guess Amy Bruni and Nick Groff over allegations that Zach Bagans is like the main reason that all these different shows have been canceled over the last couple of years.
Oh
Hmm.
my.
So,
Hmm.
and apparently
Okay.
Nick has proof of how Zach really does stuff. So, I don't know where what it's going to lead into.
Mm.
Is this the same situation where was it Zach Baggins' wife or whose wife hired a hitman
So
recently?
that was Aaron Goodwin's wife from Ghost Adventures.
Ghost Adventures. That's okay. I'm
She's
not good
not
with
so
the
good.
names on all these
Yeah,
folks,
and
but yeah, she almost
that's
turned him into a ghost. Like
yeah,
that
that's
shit's
just
crazy.
mind-boggling too.
Trying to create
Yeah.
content.
Mm-hmm.
And
People are getting desperate out
And
here in
if
this
anybody's
economy.
coming back to avenge their death, it's gonna be a ghost hunter like Aaron. I
right,
think he's gonna
Mhm.
come back, give us all the signs, help solve his
He
murder.
knows how they think.
right,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna go from a ghost hunter to a human hunter.
right. And it's just bizarre.
Mm.
It's because somehow she started talking to this dude in a Florida prison
Yeah, it was a
and
prison.
convinced him to find somebody to kill her husband. And
Mm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, she watched a documentary about the guy,
is that how she
and
found him?
the documentary was made because he killed like his whole family because
Shit.
they wouldn't give him money to give more money to this online. What was she?
OnlyFans model.
Yeah, who
Yep.
wasn't
Yep.
real. It was somebody like scamming him or something.
Right.
Yep.
And
Damn.
then he went on a killing spree of, the people who care the most about him, because that always makes sense. So
Right.
Mhm.
yeah, he in jail, son.
Yeah. So, apparently she convinced him to find a hitman for her. And she had done gave the dude in prison like where he was going to be at and all this other stuff. And apparently in one of the text messages, she asked him, does it make me a bad person that I want to end his life and not just divorce him? I'm like,
It does.
yeah.
It does. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yes,
like,
it does.
it does.
100%.
Right.
The
It's like if you're not,
hell are you talking about?
if you don't want to be with dude anymore, just
Just like
sign.
whatever
Right.
happened to just breaking up,
Right.
just getting a
Yeah.
divorce?
You know
Whatever
what?
happened to that?
I'm
Just
not in love anymore. I think I'm going to kill this fucker. Like, who does
like,
that?
how do you think this is gonna end for you? Like, how do you really think? Are you that stupid? Like, do you think you're gonna get away with something like that?
And
I don't get the
so
criminal
apparently,
mentality.
I can't remember the
Mm.
two charges they charged her with, but one they tossed out and one she got charged with. So I think she's got like 5 years in prison.
Conspiracy to commit
That's
murder,
it?
probably.
Yeah, she just got like 5 years. That's all she got.
Oh, I
And
didn't know that.
Damn.
I'm
That's impressive.
surprised. I'm surprised she didn't pull the insanity plea, saying that
Mm.
Aaron brought something back with him and it attached herself to her, and blah blah blah. And she claimed that she don't even remember sending those text messages. But yet it came from her phone to his phone, her saying all this shit.
Damn.
Yeah.
You know what she did? She was
Spicy.
like,
Hmm.
"It was a ghost," and it
Right.
sent those messages.
I
Like,
was possessed. Yeah.
Uh-huh. But yeah,
Oh my
it was
jeez.
wild. And I've met
Hmm.
Aaron. I met him years ago at a at a convention. Coolest
Mhm.
fucking dude you could probably meet.
Mm-hmm.
Super
Yeah.
chill, super laid back. He
Yeah. That's
didn't
all
let
I've
all
ever
the
heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
didn't let all the celebrity status go to his head. Super chill guy.
He's not killable, which you're saying,
Right,
You
Yeah.
right,
you wouldn't
Doesn't
think
inspire
so.
murder.
right.
Yeah. Hmm.
Wild stuff,
Dang.
man. Wild stuff.
Yeah, I don't even know where to go from that. Honestly, I think we can
Yeah.
just hang up right now.
Well, it could have easily become her deathbed confession. That's for sure.
Right.
Could have.
Mhm.
Honestly,
It could
she
Mhm.
would
have.
have got away with it if it hadn't been for that pesky cell phone company that called her out on it.
And they said
Yeah.
the only way it was figured out is they did like a random cell search of his cell and found that cell phone of his, and they went through the cell
Mm.
phone.
Oh, dang. So he
Wow.
could have been killed.
He could have been if like they wouldn't have just randomly searched this dude's cell for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But
They
who's
wouldn't have.
they? Who was searching his phone? The
The
cell phone company?
no the
The
correct
jailers.
the people
Yeah.
at the prison.
Oh, of the guy. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Mm. Well, good. Good. I'm happy that he was not killed.
Right.
Because that would have
Mhm.
been such a sad day. He's the only one I like on Ghost Adventures. It's already a guilty pleasure as it is, but
Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
everybody loves Aaron.
Yeah. Is that the show with it's like there's a ring and they're trying to take it to some mountain to throw into a lake of fire.
Oh, Joey.
I don't know. It's like some
Yes.
baggins.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
it.
okay. Yeah.
You had
That
it.
was a reach of a connect, just to
Oh.
I don't know. Is it Bagans or Baggins?
Nobody knows.
Everybody says it different.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna
All
call him
right.
Baggins. But anyways, does anybody? You guys ready to read that story and get us rolling onto this deathbed confessions?
Yes. Yes. Who's got a anybody else? Anybody on here got a story?
I don't really have a
Mhm.
confession, but I got something kind of related. It's not about me, but you know, I mean, it kind of is.
Isn't it?
So,
All right, go ahead, Davis.
Mm.
You got the
um,
floor.
but everybody's, I'm sure, has heard me talk about my aunt that passed away. Almost 5 years ago now, and the house I'm actually broadcasting from is the house that she passed away in. I lived here at the time as well, and when she was slowly going down, like the last few days, I remember her telling us like she'd be in her bedroom, door wide open, and she'd be laying there in bed, and she would see a woman standing at the foot of her bed.
Mm.
Didn't know who she was, never really said anything, just a woman
Mm.
standing at the foot of her bed. And she said it of course it spooked her, and I think that kind of in her head signified that she wasn't going to be here much longer. And
Oh.
and it probably I think it was probably the next day or the day after she told us that she got to the point where she pretty much didn't get out of the bed we had set up for her in the living room.
Mhm.
Mm,
And but I remember her telling me that she's like, yeah, she goes, I've been seeing this woman the last couple of nights just standing at the foot of my bed. Never seen her before. Don't know who she is. And
Mm.
like I said, it wasn't just a couple of days after that is when she actually passed away. But it's
Oh my gosh.
like I
oh
said, it's not
God.
really a confession, but people say that sometimes you'll see stuff like that, you know, before you pass away. Whether it's moments
Mhm.
before or just a couple of days before, you'll see stuff like that. And I just find that really odd that I guess I don't know if it's like your senses open up more or what it is that people do, talk about seeing stuff like that.
Mm,
Hospice nurses, I follow a couple on TikTok. Hospice nurses often talk about that. It's a regular phenomenon, something that they
Hmm.
regularly see that their patients will do.
Hmm.
Is this acknowledging somebody in the room who's not there and they know when they start talking about this, whoever that's in the room, telling them like, yeah, you're coming home or come with me or whatever. They know that it's like your days away. It's an
Hmm.
automatic thing, but it's a reality for them. They
Right.
completely admit that that's the deal. I don't know what it is. Like, I've heard many people say that, the veil is thinning, and
Mm.
therefore they can start to see it. They're kind of getting closer to it.
Right.
But
And
man,
and I've heard stories of people seeing people that they do know
hmm,
appearing to them and talking to them and stuff, and then
yeah,
in like my aunt's case, somebody she has no idea who they were, just
yeah,
standing at the foot of her bed at night,
hmm.
and it's just like,
Mm.
what the fuck? Like I would shit my pants. That would freak me out.
Maybe that's why a lot of
Mm.
people poop when they die.
I
You
guess maybe
know,
so.
Out of fear.
Right.
yeah. Mm.
Oh.
Guess it's good that
if I
bedpans
know
were
I'm
invented.
if I know I'm gonna die, I am stopping eating like 3 weeks going up there. I ain't squeezing nothing out there at the end.
I don't think you can help it no matter what.
If there's nothing in there, there's nothing you can't do. There's nothing in there. Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I don't poop ever.
And
So there you
no,
go. There you
well,
go.
what's the sad part is that you died because you didn't eat.
Yeah,
It's just not because of you were very ready to die.
Right.
doctor said it was just a mild flu, but she freaked out. And, know,
She was only 45.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Oh man. And that's a part of in the case of your story, D, that's a part of deathbed confessions, which I failed to make that very clear to folks, but I think a lot of people can relate to that kind of story as kind of like a deathbed confession, like the final things that people say um as they're passing away, or days before they're passing away. What is that
Mm,
thing? And many people talk about exactly what you just said, like
Hmm.
seeing somebody who's come to take them home.
Right.
Yeah,
Or in some people's cases, drag them to hell.
that happens as well. It's terrifying.
mm-hmm.
Or gosh, I recently heard somebody talking about the shadow figures waiting to take them. And you can just
No.
Mm.
imagine, like, take them to hell. Like, is that what? But they're, yeah, it was
Right.
a very frightening
You know
experience for them.
when
Mm-hmm.
when I was going through and trying to find some interesting stories for all you guys to read for their promos and stuff, there was one that I really wanted to use, but there wasn't a whole lot to it.
Hmm.
But I also didn't want to use it because of what it was based around. And I think I talked to Gil about. I was like, I don't want to do anything around this subject and blah blah blah. But the confession part, he was talking about. Because apparently the guy had done some really bad stuff to some kids, and he
Mm.
said he was seeing the kids
Mm.
outside of his windows at the
Ooh.
hospital, like all just waiting for
Mm,
him. And they said, like in this confession, like they were like on the seventh or eighth floor of this hospital, and he would see them outside of his window.
These kids
Dude,
are
And I'm
tall.
like, holy shit! I was like, that's
very
super
tall.
crazy, right?
yeah. Very Children of the Corn-esque.
Right.
Just sitting there going,
Oh wow.
yeah, we about to get our revenge.
It's like, oh man, it's oh
It's
Mm.
kind of it's a hmm. I've been kind of researching, so maybe I'm thinking darkly anyway, but there's a kind of justice in that
hmm
when a ghost can get its comeuppance like that, or
right,
that a person who did bad things is going to have to pay at some
right,
point, even if they got
Mm-hmm.
away with it for years. Yeah, there's justice in that. I was just researching the Chris Watts murder and all the paranormal stuff that happened, before in the 2 days before he was arrested for it, and I was like, get it, Shanann, fucking get it, girl. There's a lot of
Wait,
stuff that happened.
what happened? Can you explain that?
It's part of my episode. No, yes, I
Oh,
can tell
okay.
you. I can
Okay.
tell you. So, well, I'll give you the big example. So, what I'm talking about in this episode is ghosts who communicate or otherwise help to solve their own murders. And there's a lot more of these stories than you would imagine. And one that I found that I haven't really heard about anybody talk about in this aspect. Like people have acknowledged the paranormal stuff that happened following her disappearance and before he was like actually arrested, but nobody's ever really put it into the scope of maybe this was Shanann. Maybe this was her kind of reaching back and be like, I will be fucking damned if I go disappeared and y'all don't arrest this guy.
Yeah.
So the big example that I think everybody noticed, everybody picked up on if you watched the documentary on Netflix, was the commercial that played in the background. The officer standing there in the living room. He's got Nate, his neighbor. Chris is standing right by the television, and this commercial comes on the TV, and it's for American Horror Story, and it was for their upcoming season, I think Apocalypse. And the commercial, it's just this baby. Oh, and this commercial caused him to mention to the officer, and mentioned for the first time in all of this since his wife disappeared, that she's pregnant. So there's this baby, this fetus. It looks like it's in a womb. Camera zooms out. It's actually in the top part of an hourglass. Pans down to the bottom of the hourglass. Time runs out. It's got like its umbilical cord and everything like looped down there. Time runs out. That goes into this vision of a skull submerged in oil. And then, right at the last second, nobody notices this part. Right at the last second, these little hands reach up out of the oil to grasp the skull. And then at that point, Nate, the neighbor, finds his footage and plays it on the TV. So that's where the commercial cuts. This commercial tells the story of what fucking happened. Like it is so, it's metaphorical, but it is so goddamn literal. It is so eerie, dudes. So I'm looking at it from that angle. Like, I don't think Shanann could have said it any clearer than that.
Right. That's
Just my opinion. Yeah. It's tough to do those true crime ones, though. God,
That's some rough
heartbreaking,
ones.
dude. Yeah.
I wonder if he'll get the electric chair and how many watts they'll
No.
put him under.
Oh, Joey. It's just going to be my shtick every time you do your shtick. Oh,
Oh,
Joey.
Joey. Yep.
No, he got some plea deal. He's not getting the electric chair. No Watts for Watts. But he did get consecutive life sentences, multiple. So
50
he ain't
years.
ever going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And word on the street is, life is not fun for him in prison. He's this is worse than any death sentence.
What
would
do
have
you
been,
mean
so.
there's no Taco Tuesday?
It's the worst time of my life.
I'm writing my senator.
Ever since I was 2 years old, I've had Taco Tuesday every single week.
It's in the name.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're Swedish, then it's on Fridays. It's a thing.
Why?
I don't know. I'm not a Swedish
don't-
expert.
They can't. They're getting rid. They can't have tacos.
They're
anymore.
not allowed
They're
to
not
call
allowed to have
dibs on this.
tacos.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. No,
Yeah,
we're
they're
not.
out.
They're
Out.
Swedish
I don't
tacos.
respect it. I don't respect their views.
Yeah.
No, chat, help me out.
Would they like put candy in them or something? Put some Jolly Ranchers in it?
No, they're just
It's
tacos.
probably chocolate.
But they're on
Well,
Friday.
if it was Choco
That's it.
Taco Friday, but that sound good. I'm a huge Choco Taco fan. Swedish chocolate. Swedish Choco Taco. I don't know.
We are
Good tracks.
now a
Well-
cooking podcast.
Yes.
We just transformed.
I will make you an expert on the 5 things I can cook well.
Perfect. Well, speaking of deathbed
Shall we?
confessions, who wants
Shall
to
we move
read
on?
the first one? Yeah.
Should we open up the lines while we're While we're doing that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
right? I think so. Just pulled up here.
Nice.
Yeah, yo.
Mm-hmm. Them lines are open, Gil. There they are. Mm-hmm.
Right.
While we're
I did,
waiting, do we want
I did
somebody
get
to
a,
read the?
I got a text from my coworker Amanda, who's
Mhm.
called into the show a few times. That's kind of like a little side discussion we could possibly talk about either tonight or at some point. Paranormal nightmares.
Okay,
Ooh.
that sounds good.
Mm,
Yeah. Hell yeah.
that's close
So,
enough to deathbed confessions.
right.
I have a lot of
Alright.
paranormal nightmares, or I used to. Yeah.
You know,
That's a
I
good one.
I
Mhm.
only have paranormal nightmares when I'm not listening to like paranormal podcasts, like old Art Bell episodes or alien abduction stories when I'm falling asleep. If it's silent, then I start having
Oh,
crazy dreams around stuff. So
your
I don't know
subconscious
what
is
that
craving
says.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for real. It's like, this isn't right. We got to invent our own entertainment. Let's go, boys.
Right.
Mm.
You know, but
Well, who wants
yeah,
to read the story?
I don't even have it pulled
I
up.
can I can read it if y'all want. Just give me a moment
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me just a second, y'all.
Yeah. There you go. Hum louder there, KBs. What song you humming there?
I don't know. I just made it up.
Get
Oh.
I don't know.
All
Last time I
right.
hummed, I got shushed at work. So
You
Oh,
got
wait,
shushed at
by the
work
ghost though.
by the
yeah,
That was the
ghost?
ghost. Yep.
yeah, by
Yes.
Clancy.
Oh. What were you humming? What was the hum?
I'm pretty sure it was that Kendrick Lamar
Hmm,
song. What's it?
hmm, hmm, hmm,
Uh,
hmm, hmm,
Not
hmm.
like us or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, I think I
That's
was
a
just
good
Hmm,
doing
song.
hmm,
that part, and I
hmm,
was like, he shushed me.
hmm, hmm, hmm.
7 o'clock in the morning, I got shushed, and there's nobody else there.
Dang, that ghost definitely not like us.
Yeah.
But
Core in the chat says, "Are you telling your own deathbed confessions or confessions that others have told you on their deathbed?"
well, if you're typing to us beyond the grave, then I think that we
Please
might have
call
some
in.
Yeah.
different. Yeah,
Please
Right.
please
call
call in.
in.
Yeah.
We might have different
S-
worries than that right now.
You could tell
Yeah.
deathbed
s-
confessions
But
that
both.
somebody has told you or that
Hmm.
Hmm.
you've heard that really
Right.
Hmm.
stuck with you.
Don't have to be
Um,
Yeah.
your own.
and
Any that you've
like we
heard.
talked about earlier in the show, like it doesn't it can also be stories about like the phenomenon where people see people in their rooms and talk
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
the people in their rooms that nobody else can see, taking them home
S-
or to hell, as we have established.
Yeah.
mm,
A lot
Well,
of the phenomenon surrounding death, and if you were there, if you saw it,
Mhm,
I feel like that's a
mhm.
good way to go.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
All right, Gil.
You got that
so.
pulled up?
Hmm. All right. So, just leaving a comment there. So, this is a submission that we got in the other day through our forum at Ghost on Beer. Actually, gotta do one thing. There we go. Hi, my name is Jesse. I've worked in hospice care for 7 years now, long enough to know when a patient is slipping, when their body is too tired to keep up, but their mind has one last thing to say. Most final words are mundane or emotional. Tell my daughter I love her. I'm sorry. Where's my dog? That sort of thing. But then there was Harold, 83 years old, diagnosed with dementia 2 years prior, but in the weeks before his death, he had moments of startling clarity. He'd look at you like he remembered everything, like he was watching you, watching him forget. Harold didn't get many visitors, so I made a point to check in on him more often, to sit with him, talk to him. He liked to hum old jazz tunes and stare out the window like he was waiting for someone. The night he passed, I was the one on duty. He'd been slipping in and out of consciousness all day. His breathing had taken on that ragged, stuttering rhythm we call the death rattle. I sat by his bedside, holding his hand, something I've done for dozens of patients. Then his eyes shot open, clear, alert. He turned to me, squeezed my hand, and said, "It's buried under the rose bush." I blinked, thinking maybe he was reliving an old memory. "What is, Harold?" He smiled just barely. "My brother, 1954. I killed him." It froze. His grip was so tight, his eyes boring into me. He's always said he'd take everything from me. And he did, my girl, my job, my whole damn life. So I took his. And then, like a switch, he was gone.
Whoa.
I sat there, stunned, heart pounding. Later that night, when I looked him up, there was a missing persons reported from the 1950s. His brother vanished without a trace. I never told anyone. What could I say? A dying man's last words from someone with dementia? But every time I see a rosebush now, I think of Harold. I wonder if there's a skeleton beneath the petals. Submitted by Jess.
Whoa.
Mm.
That's
That's
a heavy burden to carry.
right.
You hear that from somebody's dying lips? The last thing they tell you?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's intense.
hmm I mean, I've a lot of deathbed confessions that I've heard just online, like random accounts where it's from folks, like Jess that work in hospice. Um, a lot of murders, like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
murders, and damn, those stories get intense. I don't, I don't know. I mean, especially looking at like say like the last 10, 15 years of the types of stories that get admitted, a lot of them are related to racism, to segregation, to like,
Mm-hmm.
towns lynching folks, and getting away with it.
Yeah.
One very messed up story, the woman admitted, that when she was, I think like she was 8 or 9 years old and she had a crush on, it was a white woman and she had a crush on a little black boy and he didn't like her back. So she lied to the adults and said that he was acting inappropriate towards her and he got lynched by the town.
Shit.
Mm.
Mm.
Like a lot of stories like that. Um, I mean, that sure as hell doesn't bring any justice to the situation, but it's just wild, like how prevalent things like this are. The
Mm-hmm.
exact same way as with Harold. Um, kind of that like I don't know that one last thing people want to get off their chest, which they've just kind of been hiding their whole life from acknowledging. Ooh, ugh.
Mm.
Although I
Yeah.
do like to think
Mm.
if my deathbed confession is just going to be like, I never liked The Godfather, and then I'm just going to pass away.
Mm.
Uh, mm,
I think that story zapped the levity right out me. I can't
mm.
There
can't
was
think of
levity
any
before with a subject like this?
of me. Like my in general levity, I
Mm.
cannot.
Oh,
I have
Ooh.
no spark of
Well,
comedy after that.
man.
well, if anybody's got a good death joke, or if they have a good confession that they've heard, and obviously it has to be or can be secondhand, right? It'd be hard to be
Mm-hmm.
firsthand where it's like you're the one that's dying. So it all involves secondhand, right? So if it's
Mm-hmm.
your sister heard this from your cousin when they passed, or call in anonymously, that's totally fine too. Or hey, let's open it up. is there anything you really want to confess before you die? Here's your chance. We can get it out there.
Yeah.
Call in
Mm.
anonymously. Um, yeah, call in, share the story. The number is 208 717 1611. And here's the deal, too. If you're trying to get the nerve up and you're like, I don't know if I should, or, I don't know if I have that much to say, you do. And we're excited for you to call in. But you can always submit it, through an email or through a form, and we'll read it on the next episode. So,
Mhm.
yeah, if you're
Well,
shy,
what you
studio
just
shy.
said is inspiring this thought. We B3 could start a dedicated either line or kind of a bucket where people can put their written messages in that are like that website. I don't remember what it's called, but it's where
Mm,
people
mhm,
can just anonymously submit confessions to things or like their deepest darkest thoughts about things and submit it.
ooh.
There's no names attached ever at all, and
Yelp.com.
it's Yelp.
It's Yelp. Right back at
That's,
it.
it's not, but that's funny. That's funny.
Uh,
And people specifically go there to leave their truth there
Hmm,
and never
it's
have
a
to
good
have
idea.
repercussions, but they get it off their chest.
Mm,
I mean, I guess what are the
like 4chan.
repercussions? Yeah. Yeah. I guess you'll never have repercussions because you're dying unless you're like snitching on snitching on your like son or daughter or your somebody that's still
Hmm.
alive, you know.
Yeah.
now,
Thought you were going to say
some
snitching on
something
Jesus. Oh,
something I've thought
Mhm.
about. I wonder
mm.
how many cases where people have confessed something as they were dying, but then didn't actually pass
Didn't
away.
die.
Right?
Yeah,
Oh
I'd be
this
like,
no.
is awkward. Um,
Mm.
you know that thing I told you, like when yeah, let's
That
delete
was a
that.
joke. That was a
It
joke.
was
I was
delirium.
joking. Yeah.
They're all like in the dying process. They're like, I slept with a bunch of Nazis, and then
Yeah.
like an hour later, they're like,
I was on drugs an hour ago. Ignore me.
Mhm.
hello,
Oh,
hello, caller. You are live. Can we get your name and where you're calling in from, or be anonymous if you want?
Let's go by the name Lilith today. And I am from a town in the Midwest area. It's interesting you bring up the haha you just had because I myself am a hospice worker and I have
Mm,
been
okay.
doing it for several years. My very first hospice client, I walked in. He was quite a young man who had severe problems with his respiratory and his body was shutting down. So we were called in. And as I came in, he proceeded to tell me that he needed to get something off of his chest before he died because he wouldn't be able to die unless he did. And I have a ministry background, so of course, I opened the floor to his request. And he then proceeded to tell me a story about when he was 10 years old and his uncle had found out that his other uncle had violated some children, and his uncle had put him up to murdering um, what would be his brother, right? So his uncle, and he did it. Um, and because of the situation of their family, the cops kind of just were like, oh, okay, it was an overdose, it was this, it was that, and they just let it go. So he ended up getting away with it, but he lived with this pain of knowing that he murdered someone in his family and got away with it. And then as he got older, obviously the reality that his uncle had talked him into this situation started to bear even more weight on him. And he started, using drugs and things of that situation, which got him to these health issues as they were, right?
Mhm.
So we have this conversation and I leave there and I'm just kind of in shock. As I said, it's my first day on the job.
Mm.
And I have this heavy thing just like laid in my lap. About a week later, I get a call from my coordinator who tells me that he has been released from hospice care. They have said that he was fit to go home, and he is still alive to this day. knowing that I
Dang.
know that he murdered his uncle.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Holy sh!
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Does that bring up any questions for you?
Yeah, yes, it does. Yes, it
Yes.
does. We have to
First,
ask. It's kind of the question to ask. I mean,
mm,
where are you on reporting? Did you do anything? Did you report, or are you hanging on to it?
Well, as I stated, I'm a minister, and I also hold other titles to where unless he does it, I mean, I can encourage him, but I can't
Mm.
do that myself.
Got you.
No.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
Wow.
Totally.
holy heck.
Hmm.
Oh.
Is there? Dang. So especially as
And
a
you,
minister, so
is- go ahead, sorry.
no, you're good. There's a little bit of a delay, so apologies. But yeah, is there? What kind of advice gets shared among folks within your fields, right? Like folks specifically that, ministers or even just within the hospice field as a whole of like folks that might be encountering things like deathbed confessions, these huge admissions. Is there like is there training involved in this? Like what kind of goes into it? Because I can't imagine this, things like this are rare in the lifespan of a whole career.
Right. So that's a really good question. So a basic hospice worker, I wouldn't say there's training on it. There's just kind of an understanding that when people are in hospice, they're on a lot of meds, they're going through a lot of stress, and everything they say might not be fact, right? It might not be what is
Mhm.
quote unquote real. So a lot of times I feel when a lot of hospice workers get these deathbed confessions, they're just like, okay, Mr. So and so, and they just kind of go about their day because for one thing, it's a very difficult thing to digest. Some of the things that's put on our altar in that
Yeah.
position anyways. And then you kind of add that, and then you have, that cognitive dissonance of, oh, I should tell someone, and, this person is dying, and, their sins will be forgiven, whatever your beliefs are, right? But
Mhm.
as a minister, all I can do is encourage them to seek God and to
Mm.
allow that space for the physical part of man's law to work through that aspect of God. And most ministers are that way. We get a lot of things put at our altar, and the reality of our duty is we are the ones at a place where we're supposed to be able to hold that and to understand that there's
Yeah.
a divine plan behind all of it. So we just
Yeah.
kind of encourage forward as we can.
Dang,
Mm.
that is rough. That's a lot to carry, and a lot of respect to you for taking that on. I mean that
Right.
I'm not someone of faith at all, but I 100% respect the fact that you know um, you you're really making yourself a vehicle for your faith. You're allowing to practice. You're applying forgiveness almost in a sense, like you're helping to aid in the process. If that makes sense, I don't know how to phrase this, but that's such an intense moment to be catching confessions and admissions and like the mixture of emotions that has to be involved in that because you go from hearing things like this to I'm sure many times folks actually passing and then also having to console family maybe with the thoughts of what the person just admitted still in your mind. Like
Mm,
that's a hell of a responsibility. That's I have
yeah.
a lot of respect to you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to
Yeah.
say thank you for offering this space because because of my work and my thing, I have held this for a really long time, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not even so much these things happen, and then it's like when they stay alive, there's this whole human aspect to it,
Right.
of like, oh, this person knows that I know this thing about them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
so
That could
so
make for
having so
some awkward
yeah, I could
instances at the
stand.
post office, just being like, "Oh, hey, haven't seen you in a while."
Oh gosh, especially if
You
he
just
if he
stay out of
want.
that town, right?
Yeah.
What are the
Right.
chances? What are the chances that he'll wind up back with you when it is his time?
Ooh, you just gave me God bumps with that question. I
Oh
didn't even
no.
consider that as an
Ooh.
option.
Sorry.
And
Oh,
if
no.
it is, I guess we'll just be sitting
Mm.
there, and I'll just have to start with a prayer. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
I hope he
Oh.
doesn't come in
mhm.
with being like, all right, so I know last time was heavy, but something new happened. You'd be like, no, okay.
Let's step up. Jeez.
You thought the last time was a wild ride. Watch
Right.
this. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh.
I don't even
Oh.
like the Godfather movies, and I quit. I quit. Leave the club. I'm out of here.
Uh,
It's absurd. Lord, you are testing me.
And like you were right. And I can't really tell who's talking by the screens, but whoever was mentioning about holding with these people. And the reality is too, regardless of the title of minister, looking at that situation, he was a 10-year-old boy when that happened.
right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
how do you, I always have so much reverence for people who work hospice work, because yeah, it's this the finding the humanity in all these parts that are just seemingly unattractive, but they're real. That it's really real moments. And to hospice people just have this really beautiful way of kind of bringing a beauty to that transition. So yeah, I appreciate you guys having this line open and kind of offering the space, because I would have went to my own with this on me, and it feels
Right.
nice to just kind of let it out there a little bit. So
Right.
in a anonymous
You would have
way.
reached up to your hospice worker and been like, I know someone that murdered somebody, and you just give the deathbed confessions of other people. Each
Just
time you're
pay
just,
it
I
forward.
hold
know.
on.
It's just
You are
been
burdened
one
with this
murder
now.
confession for thousands of years, just passing around like a
Mhm.
monkey's paw. Is there
That'd be the worst paying it forward ever, for sure.
Yes.
um,
Uh,
what? What's the so especially around like hospice? Have you heard any from other folks? Maybe even like stories where you you heard it from, I guess, like a peer, coworker, your acquaintances in the field, um, and even if they didn't believe it, and we can always lighten the mood here. What's the funniest deathbed confession you've heard? Has there ever been a
Uh,
funny deathbed confession? I don't know. I guess I should start with that.
yeah, I would say there's a lot of what I would consider humorous deathbed confessions, because there's things that we genuinely believe in our lives that are like really really bad,
Mhm.
Mm,
and we'll
Right.
like carry that shame for like our whole lives. And the funniest one was quite recently, actually. It was like a 94-year-old woman, and she was talking about how when Coca-Cola came into those machines for the first time, and her mom didn't have the money to get one of the Cokes out of the machine. And so she stole one of the Cokes. And she held the guilt of stealing this Coke literally her whole life, to the point that she had to tell me, because she felt it
Oh.
was like what was holding her to earth. And it was
dang.
beautiful, and it would like broke my heart all at the same time.
Right.
Because it was so minutely small, and the fact that she actually felt conflicted about it shows that she's a
Mhm.
good person.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but it was funny and endearing and light,
Yeah.
considering everything else.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to warn her from beyond the grave too. Coca-Cola has some very, very good legal teams, and they might go beyond the grave. Have a Ouija board in court, being like, 1940s, 50s, probably 50s, maybe when they first became in the machines, 60s.
oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Uh, we're gonna look for that 5 cents. Looking for that
Plus
5 cents.
plus eternal interest, right?
Yeah,
Right.
eternal
Yeah.
interest. Yeah. It's gonna be ice cold wherever you are. You can only do every time you drink something.
Man, I could only wish that I was such a good person that the worst thing I ever did was steal a Coke from a vending machine.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
a good
Oh, bless
person
it.
right
Yes.
there.
Right.
Yeah.
That is.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Yes. I agree.
Well, if anybody wants to give the Beer, Booze, and Boogeyman team wants to give your deathbed confession right now, uh, She's on the line. She'll listen.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
There
Yeah. I'm good at listening, and I won't tell anyone other than random people on the internet anonymously, I
you go. That's
guess.
right.
Well, perfect.
Very
That's-
anonymously.
and
Yeah, yeah.
we sincerely appreciate it.
We do.
That was
Yeah.
Thank you so
fantastic,
much.
Lilith.
Thank
It
you
was.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. And
Thank you
if you
all.
know anyone else in the field that also needs to get something off their chest, or something they know that they need to get off their chest in a similar thing, shoot them a text, share our live stream. We're gonna be going for another
We're
half an
here,
hour or so.
darling. Yep.
This
Mhm.
is we're doing it for
Will
calls
do.
exactly like yours.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for
Uh,
calling in, Lilith. That was great.
Thank
Yeah.
you so
That was
much.
amazing.
God bless. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah, have
Good
a good
night,
night, Lilith.
Lilith.
Bye.
Dang.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow,
That was
dudes.
That was
nuts.
awesome. That was
Some
a
That was
roller
such a
coaster, but
ride.
awesome. Yeah.
I did not expect
right.
the end. I was like,
Mm.
oh, what? Oh my
Oh,
gosh. That's a turn. That's a twist
It
dang.
was.
on the final confession when it wasn't your final
Whew.
confession.
How didn't
Oh,
we think of
Whew.
ministers to
oof.
reach out to? That
Oh
says
my
something
gosh.
about this crew.
Yeah.
Um, um, that was
And
man, I'm so grateful. I'm so
I
grateful to Lilith
yes, thank you so much. That
calling
Thank
was
you,
in to
Lilith.
share.
Yeah.
so
And
cool.
also, we could
Just
provide a public service. She was
yeah.
grateful that
Yes.
she got to get off of her chest
mhm.
anonymously something somebody else got off of their chest not anonymously. And I do
Mm.
like to picture them just kind of like, I don't know, like in line at a buffet or a Burger King or something,
Right.
or like they're
Yeah.
they both end up at the back of the TSA line in like LA or something, and they're just like, oh gosh, this is gonna be 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Oh.
hey, so I'm not on duty. I mean, I'm always on duty, but I'm not like, in the scene. Have you seen the weather? Like I don't even know how that guy would handle that.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Did you see that
wild.
flock of crows that just flew by? Oh, I mean, no, 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 not that. Did
Oh,
you see
oh,
that?
no, no. I, I do seriously though want to point out, just in case it ever gets back to that person's ears, or if somebody else has a similar type of confession or whatever, that was not the 10-year-old's fault.
Right.
That was
Mhm.
literally parental peer pressure that was
Mhm.
taking place,
Mm-hmm.
and like,
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, that's absolutely absurd. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
Mhm.
pass judgment on the fact that the brother didn't just handle the family business the way you should have handled family business, because it
Right.
seems like there was a situation set up where the local constables wouldn't have really cared, But I mean,
Mhm.
it does kind of put the kid in a situation where it's like they're not gonna try him as an adult.
Well,
They're
yeah,
not
and
gonna blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
to
But
lump that on
still, dude,
somebody to carry
on your own
Mhm.
for their
freaking
life.
kid, your own
Unbelievable. Yeah.
freaking kid.
People are
Mm-hmm.
That's
believable. Unbelievable.
like
I know, man. Just imagine if
unbelievably unbelievable.
somebody, you're with somebody on their deathbed confession, and they're just like, come closer, come closer, and they just go, "Boop," and you're just like, oh, that was it, and they're like, no, come closer.
Even
I got to get
closer.
something off my chest. I got breast implants, and you're just like, oh, come on, like really? Because they got to get something off their
On
chest.
my back. But
Oh, Joey.
ah, um,
I don't
still
know.
taking
I thought
deathbed
I lost it.
confessions.
Oh my God.
Thought I
It can be
lost it.
your confessions. It can be someone else's confessions. It could be a made up confession. We'll never know. You can call in anonymously, just like AKA Lilith did.
Mhm.
Number is 208-717-1611. And if you're listening to this at any point in the future, you can reach out to us with yours at ghost.beer. You'll find ways to submit. So if it's 3 months from now, you
Mhm.
come across our show and you're like, crap, I'm, I'm pissed that I missed this. I had a great one. Um, submit it, submit it there. We have a bunch of
Mhm.
different ways to submit, and we'll read
Mhm.
it on air, obviously in a future episode, because we don't have a time machine yet, but
Yet.
We're
YouTube's close
close.
enough.
We're close.
So Deathbed Confessions 208-717-1611.
And if you
Hmm.
follow the show and have come to like it since the beginning, and you see a previous episode that we did, a previous topic that you're like, I had the perfect story for that. Send it. Send it, because we actually have a segment. We haven't had to do it in a long time. I can't even remember what it's called. De- Dead Files? Dead Mailbox. Something dead.
I don't remember either. I think that was like
the
on
idea
episode
died.
2, maybe.
hmm
Yeah.
Dead on the vine.
De-
Yeah.
Dead on the vine. Let's just call it that. Yes, where
Mhm.
we'll read your story from past subjects.
After the
So-
deadline, was that it?
Hmm.
I don't remember.
That's pretty cool.
I
That's
think
pretty
it
cool. We
was,
should
but
name it
we
here.
should have went with
We
a
should name it here.
resurrection pun. Honestly, that makes more sense. The whole dead thing doesn't make sense. It's like, well, then that's not going anywhere. You know what
I
I'm
don't
saying? It should
remember.
be a resurrection based pun. This is
Easter mail.
yeah. I was gonna say like Easter Bunny
It's like a
delivery.
play
I
on
don't know, something
email.
cute.
Yeah.
This is what we're gonna do for the
Fun.
next hour. We're gonna make up names for our past episode topics that are now gonna be read in the future.
Yeah, we
Present.
just lost all the viewers. No.
hmm Yes.
208-717-1611. Call in. You can call in with, I'm not sure we should say your own deathbed confession, although, if you want
We'll
to,
take it.
we're here.
Yeah.
Or ones that you have heard, or ones that you have heard of. Also, if you just want to talk about an experience somebody had as they were in the days that was leading up to their passing, and they saw somebody in the room, I would really be happy to hear those kinds of stories. Those stories
Mhm.
are especially just heartfelt and
Mhm.
beautiful and very fascinating.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
welcome to call in about those.
Yeah. If you
I
looked
do
at the
wanna
end of
add-
the bed and you saw Michael Jackson and he moonwalked you into heaven, we want to hear it.
Legend.
Oh, yep.
Exactly. And I would what could be the funniest because the one with the Coke was like that was just adorable. Like that,
That's
you know.
adorbs.
I live in the South, I can say this, but bless her heart. That was so sweet. That was so cute.
Bless
You know.
her heart.
But like, you know, what legends would y'all like to start on your deathbed? And again, call in anonymously. The folks in this future date aren't gonna know. I would say, you know, like I buried all of it underneath the house. And then just like drop a gold coin the second you die, you know. It's like, oh my god.
Or
Just
what is your example? What's your deathbed confession that is literally like that final story that Lilith left us with, where it's
Mm.
really not that big of a deal? What would you guys leave as your final? What's the thing you did that's really not that big of a deal?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think I'm
Anderson
gonna
was
go
the
ahead and
boss.
make one up for Gil.
Okay.
Gil's exposition, his question. I'm going to say the treasure is underneath. Just bury it somewhere that people will know where it is. So Gil, if I'm dying soon enough, I'm gonna tell you the treasure is underneath this, and it's literally just gonna be all of Nicolas Cage's movies. With on top, it's gonna be National Treasure, and you're just gonna be like, man.
Oh my god.
This is awful. This is terrible. You just rebury these for the next person.
Oh.
I'm just gonna convince, you know, who was ever there to finally watch all like the movies that I had been trying to get them to watch when I was alive. Just be like, the
Oh
secrets
god, it's a million.
are at season 7, episode 422. Just they're like, "Well, but the clues only get revealed if you've seen all the other ones." It's like that's how I'm going to ultimately that's how I'm going to trick everyone that I know into watching One Piece, like start to finish, like all 1,000 something episodes. I'm just gonna be like and just pass away.
I
Um,
imagine
I think it's a
you,
good plan.
Gil, as
here
the
for that.
guy that leaves those
Mhm.
you leave behind with a scavenger hunt of sorts.
Mhm. Oh, totally.
Mhm.
100%. Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
And I
I'm
can't
like,
wait.
what? um, to remind me
paid me
never to
good money
film a
not to
ghost
wait.
hunter show with you.
And
Oh.
isn't
Yeah.
it great? This first episode will be your last episode.
Take my joke. Way to
Nice.
take my joke.
I'm
Nice.
sorry.
Way
it's
to
not.
bring that
No, no,
back.
I
Nobody knows
appreciate
what
it.
I'm
I
talking
appreciate it.
about. Nobody
Yeah.
knows.
Hey,
We
that's
do.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Just no offenses were made. That's all y'all need to know.
Hmm.
But
Well, let's mend those fences
so,
with another caller.
call in, y'all. Phone number is 208-717-1611. The topic is deathbed confessions and pretty much anything relating to it. So mm, reach out to anybody that you might know. Shoot them up with a text, especially if you know they're bored. Perfect. Anybody that works in hospice, anybody that works as, person of faith, I guess. I don't know how the heck we didn't think of that. Shout out Lilith. Um, and as a gear up to it, any EMS workers or police who've been there at the time. Anytime somebody would be in a situation where they're around someone dying, I think share this with them. Reach out to them.
You know,
Yes, and that's mhm.
I reached out to like 5 people, and none of them said anything.
Oh,
Like they didn't even
Shame them.
respond.
They're not snitches.
Shame them.
I'm like,
Snitches.
at least respond. We're like, oh, I don't think I want to do that. No thanks. Like at least respond. One person hearted my message. Does that count for anything?
I
They
think
know
They had a
something. That's what that
they had a
says.
hard on
let's
for you. Yeah.
let's keep these deathbed confessions positive, y'all.
Oh,
So I could say what my grandfather said, like pretty
Yeah,
much all the way up until he died. If you guys want to hear that.
Am I gonna be
please.
traumatized? What's going on?
No, I
Is this
mean, no,
real?
it's not really traumatizing. Yeah, it's real actually. I'm not gonna
Okay.
make this
Okay.
up. Yeah. My
Okay.
grandfather, like, I mean, he probably lived till he was about 94. He'd been in World War II, was a scout. I think he was a scout in the Philippines. But the two things he said, which were like complete polar opposites, but I feel like encompassed his whole life, he told the sweetest story of how he met my grandmother, and like he just drove into town. He got basically got out of the war, and from World War II, was in the Marines, Army. I forgot where he was. Army, I think, but he was in the Philippines, and he always would tell the story how he drove into town, and then he saw as he was driving like his car. He was riding with somebody in the car down the street. He got dropped off in the town, and then somebody else came up, drove down, and it was my grandmother. And he just like looked at her and he was like, "Who's that?" And somebody told him, and then he like walked home, and then the next day he came and met her and was like, then they started dating right after that. It's like
oh,
right after he got home from war, and it was super sweet. And then
Aw.
the next story he tells is he was like, "Thank God for Harry Truman for dropping the bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima." And I'm like, man, this is like save my life. And I'm just like, I mean, he's just jumping back and forth between the two. Um, I was just like, Jesus. Okay, granddad.
Dang.
Yeah.
You ever
Because he
thought
was
of? Go
he
ahead.
was
Go ahead.
scheduled to go into Japan if they were going to invade, and at the time that
Mm,
propaganda was huge. That if we didn't, if we didn't
yeah.
invade, if we invaded, we're going to lose 1 million people, was what they said. And so he was like, "Well, I don't want to die. I don't want to die." And so, it's kind of how the propaganda worked.
Mm.
But
So
yeah,
did he just tell? Did he tell this story like consistently, like over and over, like
over
on
and
his?
over. Yep. When he was
Wow.
94, he died at 94, and pretty much from 93 on, he told the same story to all of us, like whoever was coming to visit him, and you're
Mhm.
just like, "Okay, grandpa," like, "Cool, grandpa, that's great." And he just, after he finished telling the story, he'd either fall back asleep or he'd just turn over and look at the TV. And I'm just like, "Okay, I'm just cool hanging out with you, grandpa. That's great. Great story." But
Mm.
it was super. The first story is super cute, so it sets you up for this like beautiful life, and then it's like, oh, and then there's the murder of like 200,000 people.
Mm.
So good duality.
And he said, "Thank God for that." And also, Joey, you wouldn't be here if they hadn't dropped the bomb.
I guess so.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna repeat. Thank God for Harry S. Truman for dropping the bomb, but
Please don't.
You just did. You just
yeah, I said I wouldn't say that in actuality and believe it, I guess. But yeah, so
Deathbed confessions, y'all. 208-717-1611. If you're hearing us talk, we're just kind of chit-chatting, filling time between calls, so feel free to call in
mm-hmm.
and interrupt. Well, I don't thank God for dropping the bomb, but I do thank God for your grandpa, eventually leading to you being his grandson. Good job.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Props on that.
Yeah.
Good call.
And then he reached
Hell yeah.
over, he grabbed my baby picture and was like, "You were a fat baby." And I was like, "Yep."
You were an incredibly
I
chunky
was an
baby.
incredibly chunky
Oh
no-neck
my
baby.
We've
gosh.
seen the pictures. We've
Mhm.
all seen the
Yeah,
pictures.
that was. Do I still have a copy of that? Hold on.
Go print
Put
it
it up
out
on
and put it.
screen. Come on.
Yeah,
Pretty
you
sure.
could.
I
I
got a
would
full
if I
back tattoo.
could. Yeah.
But
That'll be his deathbed confession that
Uh,
he reveals to me. He's like, "Roll me over." And I'm like, "What? What's going on?" He's just like, "Just do it." And then his like back tattoo is just literally the baby picture of me. And I'm like, "Why did you do this?" He's like, "Just for this reason." Ha ha. He dies, laughs, and then dies. He's like, "This was the long con."
you look really closely at the tattoo and you're like, wait, do these beauty moles do they form a treasure map? And then the puzzle begins.
Yeah. Then, God,
That's part of
that would
Then
be
the
wild.
puzzle
Gil's,
begins.
final
Mhm.
Yeah.
confession to lead you on the scavenger hunt for the
I
treasure.
I had never thought this has been a goal for a long time. I have a better one that's actually I would plan to do, but my first thing that I would like to kind of I guess my first idea in life, and I've had this since I was 13, 14 years old, about what I would love to have happen when I die. And I'm not talking about where I go or whatever. I'm talking about to like everybody around me. Um, I've had this idea for years. I got a better one, so I can share this. But somebody else, feel free to take it. You're just picture you're at a funeral, right? Like being lowered into the ground, what have you, all that stuff. Like people are around, like, oh my god, what happened? And I think it involved a platypus, whatever took place that led to my demise. And then all of a sudden, in the background, just during the middle of the sermon, with like, he was an okay person. 6 all black SUVs slowly pulled up in the background. Just bunch of dudes in suits get out. They open the door for one guy who's in, I don't know, a white suit. And by this point, everybody's sitting there and they're just like, what? They're not even paying attention, to the actual like words that are being said. They're just like, what the fuck is going on? What's happening? They all walk up in mass. Dude in the white suit walks all the way up, like out in front of him, just drops a single black rose on my casket and turns around and walks away. That's it. I would just love to have a bunch of money saved up for some shit like that because damn, that's gonna mess with everybody from then on. We're like, what the fuck was that?
oh shit.
Like, I feel like that would that'd kind of be my last way. That'd be a gift to everybody to like change their minds and not think about depressing shit. Now it's intrigue and mystery. Like, that's a
Mhm.
good move, I think. They're just like, I don't know. I mean, I should be sad, but now I'm just like, what was he involved in? Like, do you know? I don't.
I thought it was just a
The guy
podcast.
looked
Jesus.
Colombian. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I think that'd be cool.
That's a great
Mhm.
idea. That's so much
Yeah,
more
got it.
creative than I guess I've just
Mm.
never really thought about it. It's just like,
Oh yeah.
I don't want anything big or whatever. Although, you know what, that
Me.
reminded me that I've seen this video a couple of times. There's a fella, Irish fella, who like for his funeral he wanted to play them to play this tape. Have you seen it?
Yes.
And
Oh my God, it's
as
hilarious.
they're lowering him
Yes.
in his casket, it's like, hello, I'm in here. And it just
That's
left
awesome.
everybody with laughter. Like, just that's if that's the kind of person you are. I love that. I
So
friggin'
good.
love that. Yeah. Funerals should be, happy events to some
Mhm.
extent. Uh,
Only thing I've ever told people is that once the Ghostbusters theme song played.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da,
Hmm.
da-da-da-da-da-da. Whatever the
Here for
theme
it.
song is, I can't remember.
Right.
Yeah. You're like, do my hair like
Love it.
Egon's too.
Oh, I'd have to
Man,
grow it
that'd be
out a
good.
little bit.
And you
Yeah.
already wear glasses, they can just put like those little round spectacles on you.
Mm.
Right.
Hmm. What would you do? So this is a question as well for Colin. What would your prank be after you died, after you passed away? What would you do once you passed away? Hmm.
I don't know if it's so much a prank, but like after I passed away, like there better be some like lights and shit that I can flicker and stuff that I can do as a ghost. Because I've got a lot of people in my life that don't believe.
Right. I want to really mess with some people.
Oh fuck yeah.
Like if I'm given that option, that's the option I want.
You guys are gonna be raucous ghosts, like raucous ghosts. They're
Now
gonna be
it's
like,
just the
please,
it's the
K-Base, please
principle
stop.
of the matter.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do it. If it's available to me, I'm gonna do that.
You should.
Mm.
I will.
What would you do? Like, what would your thing be after you passed away? What would your style of haunting be? What would
Me?
you want to do? Yeah, either
Oh.
anybody.
I'd go to a DG.
A Dollar General. Oh my God.
Please haunt the
Uh,
already haunted Dollar General that you currently work at.
Look,
Please do.
shit happened right before I left today.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally 5 minutes before we walked out the door.
Every time.
Every
Mhm.
time. What happened?
Some feminine pads jumped off the top shelf.
Mm.
But what's was kind of intriguing about it, there's a camera on that owl, and it didn't trigger the camera to record.
Mm.
Hmm.
And it like happened like right in front of the camera.
That's crazy.
That one kind of boggled my head. I was like, why did it not trigger the camera to record?
Mm.
Well, I don't know if you know this, there's a special element in feminine products that if they sense a female nearby that's
Maybe,
menstruating, it's like a magnet.
maybe,
Mm.
maybe.
Mm.
And then just a couple of days ago, it knocked some hamburger buns off on the floor.
That I don't have an answer for.
Maybe he wanted me to grill.
Like, you have the ghost of like an obnoxious 5-year-old at that Dollar General who's just like knocking
Well,
shit over.
Be a very tall
I
5-year-old.
Right?
It was the ones from earlier that were
Right. That were
messing with
out.
the dude.
That
Yeah.
were in the
Same
window.
ones.
They were outside the
The
windows.
7-floor
Yeah.
window.
Exactly.
Little
Yeah.
bastards.
But I have noticed that it seems to be the same few owls that stuff gets knocked off on.
Mm-hmm.
There's been several things knocked off the shelf in the owl that happened today. Um, Grocery happens a lot. Uh, I've had 3 or 4 things on another owl that's fallen off in different areas of the owl. It's always like the same few owls, and it's
Hmm.
I don't know.
I'm gonna suspect it's the same shelves, but that's just me. I'm not trying to come in. I'm not trying to
Mm-mm.
kill your paranormal flow, but I'm curious. If I ever visit that Dollar General, I'm coming in with a level and checking these damn shelves.
He smacks the damn shelves to show us every
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
time.
Well, that's why
Wouldn't
they're
that
getting
be
bent.
just just a royal fucking fuck you? You die. You're not just relegated to inside of a Dollar General and you can't leave because the sandworm's going to get you. But you are relegated to just like 2 aisles for
Right.
eternity. Grocery and feminine products.
Right.
That's my power.
It's just
That's
future,
it.
Damien. It's just future you.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
And,
honestly,
and
oh my gosh. Hold on, Joey. We did the whole Saruko Kyuchi series where the dude, Japanese fella, still alive, who's died 3 times
Mhm.
clinically, like been in very big hospitals, like it was very well done. 20, 30, 40 minutes at a time, died, declared dead. And then, like, at one point, getting last rites from his aunt and just opens up his eyes and is like scares the crap out of her. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the dude is fascinating. But Tsuruko Kyuuchi, claims that at death, because it basically time and everything gets, just dissolves, right? If you know what you're doing, you can start time traveling, right?
Hmm.
So my current theory is that um, Kristen and Deepu's, when you die in the future, you do come back to mess with people, and it's Damien at his Dollar General right now.
Messing with
which
himself.
is
Messing
which
with
is
myself, yeah.
exactly why. Yeah, because he knew like the Kendrick Lamar song, but by then you're gonna be like, I've heard this so much, and you're just like, shh. And you're like, oh, who would tell me to shush? It was you. Which is why the
Mhm.
ghost can do this and not feel guilty at all about
Kill.
it.
Oh,
Like,
Mhm.
boom. And that's the
I
circle of life after death.
love the way you
Um,
think, and that would also
Mhm.
be the multiverse
this makes
theory,
so much
right?
sense.
hmm
Yeah, we
Yeah.
No, this is
repeat
just
over and
one
over, but
universe. Everybody's stuck.
well,
Everybody's stuck in
everybody,
this one at
everybody.
but there
Damien's
at
Dollar
least
General.
has to be two of you. There at least has to be two of
Well,
you
no,
in your
Uh,
you're
in your
traveling back in
theory,
time. Oh no, no, you're traveling back in time
where
to mess
there's
with
two of
yourself.
you. Damien is like, yeah, that
Well,
fucking Kendrick Lamar song, and then the ghost Damien is
mm,
like, yeah, fuck that song, shh, like that.
mm,
well, if
yeah,
it's me doing it, I want to do some really cool shit. I want to actually,
we gotta remember that.
I want to be able to capture it on film.
I
By
know, Damien.
season
Hamburger
5, you're
buns,
gonna be
really?
like,
Right.
by season 5, we're gonna forget all this, and you're just gonna be like, okay, so I finally crafted a plan to prove life exists after death, life beyond 6 feet, if you
Right.
will. I figured out a way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in time as a ghost and try to pass that message on to me. And we're just like, wait, this is just what's been.
You're
Oh,
consistently all the ghosts that you're having are consistently just you in the future coming
And all,
back to try to prove to yourself that
so
that ghosts are
and
real.
all of them are like real Damien. Living Damien is failing miserably. How does
so
he not
then
know?
then it was me the other night at home too.
Yep.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's this
So
one
it's like ghosts
currently is
don't.
telling you what to eat. The Dollar General one's telling you what to eat. It's like
This
pad
tracks.
thai, hamburger buns. You know, it wants you to eat hamburgers. It's like, look, this
For
is a
more, yeah,
balance.
more iron.
More
Uh,
Get more
iron.
iron
Yeah.
in your
Um,
diet.
Listen
this
to Hallowed Be
tracks.
Thy Name. Listen to the
Explains
Trooper.
why
You
they
know,
always know where you are.
Iron Maiden. Exactly.
You know.
Because they know where you're gonna be.
Hmm
Well,
That's
y'all, we solved that problem. Uh, I think we did. I feel good
right.
about that.
Good job,
I think
everybody.
we're
Good job. We're
special.
good.
Um, tonight's topic, the paranormal phenomenon's been solved. So
It's just you from the future.
Mhm.
completely solved.
Hmm
Well,
Well, I think we're getting close to the end here. Can we
mhm.
revisit what our next episode is going to be? Because I think it's a fabulous fucking topic. I think this
uh,
is going to bring
Mm.
a lot more people. Um,
Amanda just texted me, said tell them it don't cover the chick that she's heard in the store and saw in the store.
we've heard you giggle, D.
Hey, look,
Okay.
Damien
look.
just like this'll really mess with him. Just puts on a wig, a ghost wig, and he's like, "Woo!"
yeah.
Good
Oh
point,
man,
Amanda. Good point. Yes.
True. Yeah. We're off base here. Yeah.
Maybe it's Amanda.
It's
maybe
Amanda.
maybe it
Hi.
could be.
I
Maybe
don't know.
she's coming back to do some shit too.
Maybe we're the trickster
Yeah.
gods. That's what I want.
Oh,
hmm
Shit, it's all
Another
coming
theory with the
together.
tricksters. Jeez Louise,
They
give
don't
it a
stop.
rest.
They don't stop.
Just like
Ah,
Pringles.
yes. Next month we are talking about D.
first responder stories.
Mm.
Hmm
EMTs, police, fire, security guards, anybody that's going to be the first responder to any kind of a call that's an
hmm
Mm-hmm.
emergency.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's some people out there that's got some really intriguing stories. It don't have to be a ghost story, just anything that really boggled your mind and you could not figure out.
Dude,
hmm
the first responder stories to aliens and
Hmm.
Bigfoot are some of the most outrageous stories I have ever heard.
Right.
Absolutely outstanding.
And
hmm
which I'll probably mention it again next month, but the date of the episode is June 7th, which is the passing of my best friend Keith, who was a police officer. So I thought after I kind of realized the date it fell on, I was like, well, that really ties in really well. And I can't remember any of the shit he told me from like on. I don't think he ever told me any of anything weird that he happened that he came across. But he always worked during the day. It seems like a lot of the stuff that I've read anyway happens like in the middle of the night when they're responding and stuff. So, but
Yeah.
I just had an
Hmm.
idea. I'm gonna walk into my local police department here,
yeah, just
and
walk in.
I'm gonna hand them the phone number. I'm gonna say, call this number at this time on this date
Hmm.
if you have ever seen any of the following while on
Right,
patrol.
right,
Let's see if
And if
anybody calls in.
and
Fuck
even
and
it.
if they
Why
and
not?
don't, we're gonna call 911 live
Well,
on the
I'm gonna
show
and
call
and be like,
you.
"Got you."
and even with the police, if they're not even on a call, if they're
Content emergency.
just out driving around patrolling and see some weird shit just out driving around waiting for a call
Sure.
to come in,
Yeah.
Mm,
you know,
Yeah.
hell yeah, I love it. And that is gonna be on what
June
date
7th.
is that gonna be?
June 7th.
June 7th. Love it.
7:30 p.m. Eastern. You can submit your stories at ghost.beer, the link on the screen, or you can be one of our thirst responders and slide right into our DMs on Instagram, Facebook, pretty much anywhere you want to go.
Did you
I was
say
happy about that one.
thirst
I did.
responders? Oh,
Sliding right
Joey.
into our DMs. I was proud of that one.
All right.
Proud of the worst ones.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Well,
Awesome.
That's good.
thank you all. You guys want to go ahead and
Oh,
go into our ending?
Yeah. Let's do
all
it.
right, guys.
Closing up shop.
Mhm.
Until
Mhm.
next time, here's a toast to the ghost in your hall.
The Bigfoot hiding in your yard.
My sister for getting me this awesome shirt that
Oh, I
says
love
"Protect the
that.
dolls." Boom, love it.
Mhm.
It's like a 3 in
Filling in
1.
for the Grays this week. Yes,
Fucking love that
yes.
Mhm.
shirt.
That was mine. I just took it.
Rachel,
I took
get
it.
me one.
Shout out,
Rachel.
sis.
Yeah.
I
And
will
may
call
your
you sister.
confessions. Oh, good. And may your confessions be sweet and short.
Cheers, everybody.
Y'all.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you for watching.